In the cacophonous theater of modern life, where influence is often mistaken for volume and presence is measured in decibels, a counterintuitive truth persists. The most formidable force in any room is not the one shouting directives from the center stage. It is a quiet, observant figure in the wings, the individual whose power is not announced but felt. This is not a passive quiet, a simple absence of sound. This is a calculated, weaponized silence. It is a silence of the deep ocean, seemingly placid on the surface but exerting immense, unseen pressure below. While the majority operates under the delusion that power is seized to the loudest proclamation, a deeper, more unsettling reality, echoed in studies from institutions like the Harvard Business Review, reveals that the quietest individuals are frequently the architects of the group's ultimate decisions. This is not a coincidence of personality, but a deliberate behavioral strategy. This is the essence of Sigma behavior, a mode of existence where strength is not advertised but embedded into the very fabric of one's habits. Habits that appear ordinary until one realizes they are anything but. The Sigma male represents a paradigm of autonomy that exists outside the traditional hierarchies of alpha and beta. He is not defined by a drive to dominate others, nor by a need to submit. His identity is rooted in a sovereign self, a kingdom of one. The way he can disengage from a conversation without a word of explanation, the elegant finality with which he rejects pointless noise, the unnerving ability to make the social oxygen evaporate from a room without ever raising his voice. These are not mere social quirks or personality tics. They are signatures. They are the unique, identifying marks of a psyche that operates on a different frequency. And yes, while the digital landscape is flooded with the curated hustle of rise and grind, selfies captured at 5 a.m., the Sigma is likely in a state of deep, uninterrupted contemplation, perhaps sipping coffee, dismantling and reconstructing complex strategies in the quiet theater of his own mind, observing performative circus around him with a quiet, internal amusement that never needs an audience. This analysis is a deep dive into the rare, often misunderstood habits that form the cornerstone of this Sigma framework. These are not superficial tips for appearing more mysterious. They are the fundamental operating principles that prove, without question, a different kind of psychological composition. Once these patterns are recognized and understood, they become impossible to unsee, revealing a map of quiet power that governs from shadows. Habit 1. The sovereign self. You are both the lock and the key. The first and most foundational habit of the Sigma male is the embodiment of profound and unassailable sovereignty. He is, in a potent metaphorical sense, both the lock and the key to his own existence. Most individuals navigate life within cages they did not build. These are gilded prisons constructed from the bars of societal expectations, the shackles of unfulfilling careers, the draining dynamics of stagnant relationships, and the weight of social circles they intellectually and emotionally outgrew years prior. They did not design these confinement systems, yet they live within them, often mistaking the familiar contours of their self for boundaries of the world itself. The Sigma does not operate within this paradigm of unconscious confinement. His entire life is architected around the principle of controlled access. He builds structures, projects, relationships, routines, with the same meticulous care craftsmen employ, but he always retains the master key. This is the subtle genius of his approach, the ability to commit fully without ever being owned. He can immerse himself in a venture, invest authentically in a friendship, or adhere to a disciplined routine. Yet his identity is never trapped within a single label, environment, or role. His sense of self is not a fixed monument, but a fluid, adaptable entity. He never overexposes his core identity or allows it to become contingent on external validation. This ability is freedom disguised as discipline. It is the product of a mind that constantly scans for exits not out of paranoia, but out of principle. When a situation reveals itself to be toxic, corrosive, or simply no longer aligned with his trajectory, he can execute a withdrawal that is clean, surgical, and devoid of theatrics. There is no begging for understanding, no lengthy justifications, no emotional bartering. He simply turns the key, locks the door behind him, and walks away. He creates doors where others perceive only solid walls. The reason he can do this with such effortless finality is that he never allows the lock, the structured commitment, to become larger or more powerful than the key, his own agency and will. Habit 2. The curator of depth. You value depth over frequency. In a hyper-connected, socially mediated modern world, relationships are often measured by metrics of frequency. The number of daily messages, the consistency of social media interactions, the relentless calendar of events and check-ins. This constant, low-grade social noise is mistaken for intimacy and importance. The Sigma male treats this entire economy of shallow interaction as background static, an irritating drain on his cognitive and emotional resources. His approach to human connection is not that of a collector amassing a vast quantity of acquaintances, but that of a curator seeking a few masterpieces. He collects relationships the way a connoisseur collects rare artifacts. Quietly, deliberately, and with a stubborn refusal to be seduced by mere quantity. The Sigma does not track rapport by the volume of digital pings or the frequency of casual encounters. He measures the quality of a connection by its transformative potential. He asks a simple, brutal question. Can a single, focused exchange alter the course of a day, clarify a critical decision, or fundamentally shift a perspective? For him, one brutally honest, fully present conversation can land with the force of a verdict. It has the power to restructure priorities, expose inconvenient truths, and force genuine progress. This does not make him cold or antisocial. It makes him profoundly efficient. He conserves his social and emotional energy like a master craftsman who saves his finest materials for a masterpiece, not for practice runs or disposable trinkets. Because of his disciplined conservation, his words, when he chooses to deploy them, become rare and valuable commodities. People in his orbit quickly learn that when the Sigma speaks with raw, unvarnished clarity, it is not filler. It is not small talk designed to pass the time. It is a calibrated input, a deliberate intervention meant to shift the tectonic plates of a situation. This self-imposed rarity lends his speech an immense weight. Friends, colleagues, and confidants begin to crave his time and attention, not because they seek empty validation, but because they consciously or subconsciously desire transformation. He does not text to stay visible. He appears, in person or in conversation, to be useful. Habit 3. The strategist of secrecy. You don't broadcast your moves, you plant landmines. In an era of personal branding and oversharing, the compulsion to narrate one's life in real time is almost a cultural mandate. Most people are unable to resist the urge to announce their goals, their next big plan, the game-changing project they are about to undertake. This public declaration is often a search for validation, an attempt to borrow confidence from the anticipated approval of others before a single step of the journey has been taken. The Sigma male views this behavior as a critical strategic error. He understands the fundamental principle of power. Words dilute impact. Every time someone boasts about what they will do, they release a burst of psychic energy that should have been channeled directly into the silent, unglamorous work of execution. The Sigma does not make this mistake. He is a master of intentional secrecy. He holds his intentions close to his chest, allowing them to ferment and gain strength in the dark, fertile silence of his own mind. He only reveals them when the results are tangible, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. The beauty and the psychological danger of this habit lies in its disorienting effect on others. By the time his work surfaces and makes an impact, it is already too late for competitors to prepare a response, for copycats to imitate, or for saboteurs to intervene. He has been planting the landmines for months, unseen and unheard, while everyone else was distracted by the noise. When the explosion of his success occurs, the shockwave is amplified precisely because its origins were hidden. This is not about creating drama for its own sake. It is about the pure, unadulterated power of precision, a sequence of quiet, determined actions, followed by an undeniable concrete outcome, is a form of psychological dominance far more potent than any boastful promise. It teaches everyone in his environment a powerful lesson. His silence is never empty. It is always loaded with potential energy. It is the silence of a drawn bowstring, the calm before a storm of his own deliberate making. Habit 4. The architect of time. You never beg time, you manufacture it. The universal lament of there aren't enough hours in the day is a refrain the Sigma male finds not relatable, but revealing. While most people live as if time is a merciless master, a river sweeping them helplessly from one pointless obligation to the next, the Sigma treats time as a raw, malleable material. He is not a passive subject of clock. He is its architect. He cuts away the superfluous, shapes the remainder with intention, and bends the schedule until it conforms to his will and serves his goals. This is why he remains conspicuously absent from endless, resolution-less conference calls, from shallow social gatherings that leave him feeling drained, and from the fake, performative obligations that keep the masses busy but render no one truly productive. He recognizes these activities for what they are: time thieves. And instead of complaining about a perceived scarcity of hours, he takes proactive, ruthless action by deleting the digital and social clutter that consumes them. This habit is profoundly powerful because it exposes the inherent wastefulness of the conventional busy lifestyle. Most people operate under the fallacy that a packed schedule is synonymous with importance, but the Sigma knows that busy is often just a socially acceptable disguise for chaos. He creates freedom not by working harder or faster, but by refusing to participate in the collective noise that does not serve his core objectives or his inner peace. It is a ruthless philosophy in its elegant simplicity, and it is a primary reason he is often the object of quiet envy. Others cannot comprehend how he seems to have abundant time for deep thought, for creative pursuits, and for personal rejuvenation, while they are drowning in a sea of group chats, trivial errands, and meetings that spiral into nothingness. Habit 5. The keeper of the invisible ledger, a quiet calibration of truth. Beneath the Sigma's calm exterior operates a sophisticated and unyielding cognitive system, an invisible ledger. This is not a tool for petty scorekeeping or nurturing grudges. It is not fueled by bitterness or desire for revenge. Rather, it is a system of quiet, dispassionate calibration that maps objective truth onto human behavior. Every interaction is logged, not with emotional heat, but with forensic attention. A fake, socially mandated laugh, a coerced compliment given under duress, a thinly veiled agenda presented as altruism. All these are entered into the record. The Sigma does not react in the moment. He observes and files the data away. This ledger, compiled over weeks, months, and years, begins to sketch a precise pattern, a behavioral map of the people in his life. It clearly delineates who is fundamentally honest, who uses kindness as a transactional currency, and who possesses a latent willingness to betray when it becomes convenient. This map, in turn, makes his social and professional decisions surgical in their accuracy. He does not act on a whim or a single emotional provocation. He acts on a preponderance of evidence. The lethality of this habit lies in its secrecy. No one sees him tallying their transgressions or their virtues. He does not flash receipts in the heat of an argument for theatrical effect. Instead, he uses the accumulated intelligence as strategic guidance. It informs him when a person deserves another chance, when it is time to gradually withdraw his energy, or when precise, corrective action is required, an action that is exact and proportional, not an emotional outburst. This is what makes him so dangerous to those who take his patience for granted. They misinterpret his silence in the face of a slight as forgetfulness or weakness. They assume that because he did not react immediately, the incident has been forgiven and forgotten. This is a catastrophic miscalculation. In reality, his silence is a slow, careful process of filing the fact away for future reference. Habit 6. The unseen examiner. You test people without warning. The Sigma male engages in a form of continuous, instinctive due diligence on the people around him. He tests them, not through elaborate premeditated schemes, but through subtle, spontaneous setups designed to reveal fundamental character. He does this without warning, without announcement, and almost always without the subject's awareness that they are being assessed. This habit is both subtle and ruthlessly efficient. He may hand someone a small piece of confidential information, grant them a minor opportunity, or offer a slice of access, not because he fully trusts them, but precisely because he wants to observe their behavior when they believe no one is watching. This is not born of paranoia, but of a strategic understanding of human nature. People reveal their authentic selves not when the stakes are high and they are on their best behavior, but when the stakes are low and their guard is down. Will they gossip with the information he shared in confidence? Will they follow through on a small promise when there is little to no benefit for them? Will they respect an unstated boundary when they think it won't be noticed? The Sigma's tests are never dramatic confrontations. They are quiet, naturalistic experiments that expose the substance beneath the social mask. The brilliance of this methodology is its timing and its invisibility. Most people fail these tests without ever realizing they were being graded. By the time they believe they are building trust and rapport with a Sigma, he has already made a determination about their integrity and their role in his life. This creates an aura of mystery around his social decisions. Outsiders cannot decipher why he suddenly distances himself from someone after a seemingly minor incident, or why he withdraws his warmth after a period of apparent closeness. What they do not realize is that he is not reacting to that one isolated event. He is responding to a failed test that the other person did not even know they were taking. Habit 7. The master reinvention. You're addicted to vanishing points. For the Sigma, the concept of the vanishing point is not an escape fantasy born of discontent. It is an operational preference, a fundamental aspect of his autonomy. While others daydream about accumulating possessions, bigger houses, faster cars, more prestigious titles, the Sigma's dreams often run towards flight numbers, new languages to master, and blank calendars. The appeal is not the drama of disappearance, but profound potential to reset. A new city, a new social environment, represents a living laboratory where he can test new versions of himself, unburdened by the weight of others' expectations, old nicknames that no longer fit, or the accumulated baggage of unpaid social favors. This habit manifests in both large and small ways. His passport is not a decorative document, but a well-used tool, stamped with exits and entries. He cultivates the skill of packing light, not out of a love for austerity, but because a streamlined, possession-light existence makes the act of vanishing and reappearing logistically simple. He intentionally collects a loose toolkit of practical, transferable skills. How to find work in a new place, how to quickly read a social room, how to disengage politely and effectively. For him, reinvention is not a risky, once-in-a-lifetime event. It is a routine capability. There is also a deep strategic utility to this mastery of disappearance. Vanishing is both a potent defense mechanism and a powerful lever. When people begin to take his presence for granted, treating him as a permanent, static fixture, he does not argue or attempt to correct their perception. He simply leaves. When an environment, a job, a social circle, a city, starts to exert a sense of ownership over him, he unhooks himself before the claim can be fully established. This ability to withdraw will force others to reckon with him strictly on his own terms. It transforms their potential dependence into conscious consideration and their sense of entitlement into a state of productive uncertainty. Habit 8. The art of silent punishment. You practice withdrawal as consequences. When an individual crosses a clearly defined boundary of the Sigma male, they do not meet with a storm of shouted recriminations or dramatic public confrontation. Such reactions, he understands, are a form of engagement. They supply the transgressor with the oxygen of his attention and energy. Instead, the Sigma administers a punishment that is far more devastating in its psychological impact. The silent punishment of complete and total withdrawal. He removes the most precious resource the person had access to, his focused energy and presence. He does not announce this withdrawal. He does not negotiate its terms. He offers no explanation. He simply detaches so completely and so finally that the resulting absence becomes a palpable, unbearable force in the transgressor's life. It is not the petty, sulking silence of a child. It is the calm, deliberate exile of a sovereign. What makes this form of correction so lethal is the disproportionate impact it has compared to the quietness of the action. Most people are conditioned for conflict. They are prepared for fights, for heated words, for emotional explosions. These dramatic displays can be processed, rationalized, dismissed as a momentary loss of temper, or even manipulated. But the Sigma's silent withdrawal offers the transgressor nothing to grab onto. There is no script for this. It forces them into a direct, unnerving confrontation with their own emptiness and the consequences of their actions. The underlying psychology is brutal in its simplicity. Human beings are wired to crave validation, reaction, and acknowledgement, even when that acknowledgement is negative. By providing absolutely none, the Sigma denies the transgressor the very thing they didn't realize they were addicted to, his attention. In this paradigm, the Sigma feels no need for elaborate plans of revenge. because the transgressor's own unmet craving for re-engagement becomes the instrument of their punishment. It is a consequence that does not fade quickly. It lingers, it gnaws, it replays in their mind during quiet moments when they are forced to wonder why the social atmosphere suddenly feels colder, why their attempt at contact meet a void. This experience also serves to make his boundaries unquestionably clear for the future. After being subjected to this void, people learn on a visceral level that breaking his trust or disrespecting his boundaries carries a cost that is far too high to pay. They are left with two choices: genuinely reform their behavior to respect his lines, or vanish from his orbit. Either outcome is acceptable to the Sigma. Habit 9. The authenticity filter. You have an allergy to performance. The Sigma male possesses a highly tuned, almost physical aversion to social performance. The moment a conversation feels staged, the instant someone slips into a polished, socially sanctioned character, or begins reciting borrowed opinions, the Sigma's engagement shuts down. This disengagement is not always a conscious choice. It is often an automatic, instinctive reaction. His mind simply closes the door. For him, the currency of interaction must be realness, or the transaction is void. He will not sit through rehearsed laughter, conversations that sound like they were drafted by a public relations team, or interactions that feel more like a theatrical audition than a genuine human connection. To the Sigma, this is not socializing. It is bad theater, and he refuses to buy a ticket. This ingrained allergy performance makes him both magnetic and polarizing. Individuals who themselves crave authenticity and depth are instinctively drawn to him. They sense that he will not waste their time with social fluff or manipulative charm. They know that an interaction with him has the potential to be substantive and real. Conversely, individuals who rely heavily on social performance, the charmers, the self-promoters, the exaggerators, feel deeply uncomfortable in his presence. Their usual bag of tricks, which work so effectively on others, fail spectacularly with him. He is immune to the social spells they cast. His quiet, observant presence acts as a mirror, reflecting the artifice back at them, and it unsettles them to their core. It is not that he despises all forms of small talk. He understands its utility as a social lubricant for initial contact. However, he possesses a near preternatural ability to detect when small talk is being used as a filler to mask a fundamental emptiness, a lack of substance or genuine intent. He would far prefer to sit in shared, comfortable silence than participate in a plastic, meaningless exchange. This preference has significant consequences for his social landscape. He naturally and effortlessly cuts himself off from environments that thrive on surface-level performance. Parties where everyone is auditioning for social approval, workplaces where grandstanding is rewarded, and friendships that are maintained for optics rather than substance. He does not make a show of leaving these environments. He simply fades from them, leaving the performers to play to an audience of each other. Habit 10. The long game. You build reputation like compound interest. In a culture obsessed with virality and instant recognition, the Sigma male plays a different, far more patient game. He understands the profound power of compound interest, not just in finance, but in the building of character and reputation. While most people are chasing quick wins, loud announcements, and flashy but fleeting victories, the Sigma is quietly, consistently stacking the bricks of his reputation in silence. Every time he says no to a shallow opportunity that conflicts with his principles, every time he takes a stand that costs him short-term comfort but preserves his long-term integrity, every unadvertised victory that he accomplishes without seeking external praise, all these acts are like small, regular deposits into a psychological bank account. Initially, no one notices. To the outside world, he may appear to be moving quietly, perhaps even falling behind the more vocal self-promoters. But time is the ultimate accountant, and time never forgets. After years of this consistent, principled behavior, that invisible ledger of action begins to accrue immense psychological weight. People slowly come to the realization that his name carries a unique gravity. It is not a gravity constructed from loud boasts or a large social media following. It is a gravity forged from the consistent, dense mass of his actions and his unwavering adherence to his personal code. His reputation has been compounding in the background, gathering silent interest, while others were cashing out their credibility for cheap, immediate attention. This is why, When the Sigma finally steps into an important room or enters a critical negotiation, he does not need to argue his worth, posture for position, or sell himself. His history speaks for him before he even utters a word. The brilliance of this long game strategy is that it is self-sustaining and self-reinforcing. Just like financial compound interest, the longer he maintains his discipline, the more exponential and unassailable growth of his reputation becomes. A person he treated with sharp honesty a decade ago may mention his name in a high-stakes meeting, vouching for his integrity. A principle he refused to break, even when it was difficult, suddenly becomes a very thing that makes him the most trustworthy person in the room in a world addicted to shortcuts. Conclusion: the earthquake of presence. Every habit explored herein, from being the lock and the key, to building reputation through compounding, to punishing with silence and testing without warning, paint a coherent and compelling portrait of the Sigma male psychological architecture. He is not an aspirant to power in the conventional sense. He is an embodiment of a different, more potent form of it. His power is not extracted from the domination of others, but from the absolute mastery of himself. He protects his energy with the vigilance of a dragon guarding its hoard, and he refuses to perform according to the social scripts upon which most people depend for their sense of identity and belonging. What makes these habits extraordinary is not that they are loud or flashy, but that they are surgical, precise, and deeply efficient. They're the operating system of a psyche that has optimized itself for autonomy, impact, and peace. The Sigma does not seek to be the spotlight that blinds everyone. He is the earthquake whose tremors are felt long after he has left the room. You don't always see it coming, but you always feel it after. If you have recognized the contours of your own behavior in these patterns, the directive is not to dilute this powerful framework to make others more comfortable. The imperative is to sharpen these instincts, to protect this mode of being, and to fully own the unique strength it provides. These are not mere quirks or personality traits. They are the very fabric of a quiet, unassailable strength, the signature of the Sigma. Do these ideas resonate with you? If you found yourself nodding along or reflecting deeply on the traits and experiences we explored in this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts. The Sigma male mindset isn't often talked about openly in your perspective. Whether you identify with it personally or have encountered it in others, adds valuable depth to the conversation. Drop a comment below and let me know, which part hit home the most for you? Have you seen these traits in yourself or someone you know? Your insights help build a community where authenticity and growth are prioritized over popularity and performance. If you're drawn to this kind of introspective, no-nonsense content around Sigma males, psychological strength, emotional intelligence, and high-value living, there's more waiting for you. Explore the other videos on this channel for deeper dives, actionable insights, and raw truths that cut through the noise. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay sharp, stay grounded, and stay unapologetically real. Until next time,